As knitters, we can come up with lots of great reasons to cast on to new projects, but there's one reason in particular that tends to be a hot topic right now as it is summer in the Northern Hemisphere and folks are a-traveling, and that is what you're going to knit on your upcoming road trip. And I think that road tripping is a fantastic reason to cast onto something new just for the trip. And so for today's video, I'll be sharing with you 10 relaxing and portable knitting patterns that will be just right for your next holiday road trip. If that sounds like just the inspiration you need, grab a cup of something cozy and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Midweek Ramble. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. Just recently, I received an email from the Wool Needles Hands tip line over at woolneedleshands.com where a viewer suggested that I do a video on some great knitting patterns to take on an upcoming road trip, and I thought that was a fabulous idea, as I am also planning a road trip with my family for later this summer, and that is definitely something I am considering. And so for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 knitting patterns that I think would be fun to have as fresh cast-ons just in time for your upcoming road trip. These patterns are relatively small, relatively simple, don't require a lot of extra finishing, but will also provide some interest with the stitch patterns to keep things fresh as you travel. And very important, they're all portable. All of the patterns I'm sharing with you here today will be in my favorites bundle for road trip knits over on Ravelry. I will link to that down below in the description box. You can also find the show notes for everything that I mentioned here down below in the description box, or if you follow the QR code that pops up on your screen now, that will take you to woolneedleshands.com and you can follow along with the patterns I mentioned here on your mobile device if you happen to be watching this from a smart TV. Okay, I will be using the Ravelry app for this. It's a fantastic app for Ravelry. I will link to that down below in the description box if you are interested. I will be putting my screen up on your screen so that you can see what I see and follow along with me there, and that's where you'll see the name of all the patterns and the photos and all of that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into 10 knitting patterns for your upcoming road trip. All right, the first pattern on my list is Hollows by Melody Hoffman. This is one that I have had in my Ravelry favorites for quite some time, and as I was looking through all of my favorites and some of the patterns in the hot right now, this one definitely popped out to me as one that I think would be fantastic as a fresh cast on for a road trip, or maybe even if you got it started a few days before your trip so you were well underway as you started your trip. Either way, I think it's a fantastic pattern, and just generally speaking, it looks like such a cozy and comforting knit. Hollows is a really classic shawl. I love how wearable the shawl is, how simple but not basic it is. I love the little picot bind off on the edging there. It's really a lovely design, and all the little eyelets with the little, it's not even like, they're kind of garter ridges. It's not a ribbing, but the garter ridge texture there, it's really something special. I love Melody Hoffman's patterns. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you know that I am a big fan of Melody Hoffman. It is rather large, so you will have a lot to knit on, but it doesn't look like it's going to take up a lot of space. You will have to account for the yarn that you're going to need if you're taking a long trip and you think you're going to need more than just one skein of yarn for the duration of your trip. You need to account for a good amount of yarn. This particular pattern calls for 1,140 yards. That's about 4 skeins of fingering weight yarn, so you do have to keep that in mind and have that, but if you throw that in your suitcase and just have one ball going while you're riding in the car, you should be golden. And it says here, the Hollows is a fairly simple crescent-shaped shawl that features some simple and interesting textures and eyelets, making it the perfect Netflix evening companion. It is knit top down and is shaped with increases and short rows to give it a very elegant and feminine look. And I love that. And if it's great for Netflix evenings, it's great for road tripping. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not typically a shawl knitter, but there's something about this particular shawl that I would love to have in my wardrobe. And I feel like it's calling me and possibly going to be that thing that might pull me out of my knitting slump right now. Oh, I love it so much. Melody Hoffman just has it together. So this is Hollows by Melody Hoffman, starting off our list of road trip knits. Okay, this next design is not only a great idea for a road trip knit, but it's also a really great way to bust some of those random skeins of yarn you have sitting in your stash. This is called the Blenda Beanie, and this is by Maya Gooding. This beanie uses a couple different yarns held together for a really fun marled yarn look. Now, when you marl yarn, you're holding two different strands of yarn together, most often in two different colors, so that you get a really cool single strand of yarn as you work through the project that has a fun color shifting effect to it. The blended beanie does just that. I think these are adorable. It uses up some of those odd skeins of yarn you have in your stash. It's really pretty fantastic. Now, this is a worsted weight hat, but you're getting that worsted weight, I believe, by holding two skeins of yarn or two strands of yarn together. It says here, I wanted an everyday wear it all the time beanie, and I personally love a little structure and shape, but couldn't find a design out there I liked, so I started designing with the crown in mind. I wanted to use up stash, and no pattern out there matched problem one and was really meant to be a stash buster. And oh boy, there is something so satisfying about using up random skeins of sock fingering weight yarn. The result, my absolute favorite beanie to wear, so fun and easy to make, and all the strands of stash held together makes for an immersive, immensely plush fabric. I'll give myself a little pat on the back for problems well solved. So it says here that it's designed for fingering weight yarn in two different colors, and you're holding those two colors together to create that really marled effect. Now, this pattern calls for 585 to 690 yards of fingering weight yarn, and that's because you're going to be holding these double to create a worsted weight. I think that if you were knitting this with just a single strand of worsted weight yarn, you could probably get away with 350 yards of yarn, but you would have to definitely check the pattern to be sure about that. You can read all of the details about this pattern on the pattern page over on Ravelry. There are tons of details that you can read up front, which I think is fantastic, so that you get a really good idea of what you're getting when you pay for this particular pattern. So that is the blended beanie by Maya Gooding. I have been on the lookout for a really good bandana cowl or a bandana shawl for quite some time. Now, not something that just happens to be shaped like a bandana, but is rather a large shawl. I want something that fits like a bandana, and this particular pattern I think is just the ticket. This is the Sherbet Bandana by Lamb and Kid Designs, and I love this. This initial photo, I love the way she's styling it. I love what she's wearing. I love where she is. It looks so warm and inviting, and I love it. She looks like she's on a vacation having a fantastic time, and I just love this really beautiful neon bandana that she's wearing. I think this is fantastic. I love that she's wearing it in her hair like you could do with a bandana scarf. I just really think that this is such a cool looking design. Now, there are a few different bandana scarf patterns out there. You can find them, absolutely. This one, I don't know, I really love this, and it's a free download. It requires Aran weight yarn, only 174 yards. You don't even need an entire skein of Aran weight yarn. It comes in one size. It's just, I love it so much. It says the perfect palette cleanser project. Just one skein of yarn and a free night or two, and you have a perfectly sized, perfectly fluffy accessory. We're sure you'll make more than one. I love that. I can imagine taking like, not a huge road trip. Maybe you're just going from one place to the next and having it be something you complete either in one way or both ways, and you're done and you have a project finished in the time it took you to travel. That's what this seems like to me, and I think that is fantastic. So that is the Sherbet Bandana by the Lamb and Kid Designs, a free pattern. Perfect for your next road trip. Socks are an excellent project for road trip knitting, especially if you knit them two at a time. But whether you knit them two at a time or one at a time, generally speaking, socks are a fantastic road trip project. And I love these ones. These are called the Wanderlust Socks. They have a really fun stitch pattern. Unfortunately, I feel like the stitch pattern in the sample photo of that really speckly variegated yarn gets lost, but there is a photo here with a solid color that was what really captured my attention. This gorgeous stitch pattern. It has almost like, it has like a ribbed effect, almost like an eye of partridge look to it, which I really love on a sock. I just think these look so cool. Fantastic looking socks. So this is a pattern by Joanne Klim, and it says here, inspired by and named for a strong desire to travel. Perfect. These cozy socks are the essence of that yearning through a wonderful combination of textures that embody the feeling of exploring new destinations. These socks are worked in the round from the cuff down. The pattern is provided with written instructions and a chart for the cuff and textured pattern. There is quite a bit of information on the project page that you can read prior to purchasing this because it is a $7.50 download. But that is the Wanderlust Socks. I love these. They're by Joanne Klim. A really fantastic sock pattern to keep things interesting with that lovely texture while also providing you with a really portable and relatively simple pattern. Okay, I chose this next one because I'm always looking for an excuse to knit another one of these, and I have yet to knit another one of these, and that is the Summer Sidewalks blanket by 5410 Studios. I knit this for my youngest son right before he was born, and I loved every moment of it. I loved using a cotton yarn. I loved the pattern. I loved the size of the project. It's a baby blanket, so I knew it wasn't going to be a huge time investment and yarn investment, and I just love it. And every time I see this little thing, I keep thinking that I want to knit a larger version for our bed. It's just such a fantastic blanket. And so I wanted to share this with you because I know that a full-size blanket or an Afghan would maybe not be the most portable to take with you on a road trip, unless of course you cast it on and you start on your road trip and give yourself a good amount of progress that you can then pick up and finish when you get home. That might make it a little bit more doable and more portable, or perhaps you have a baby coming in the future for you or someone in your family, or you're just going to knit a baby blanket just in case, who knows, or you just want something that's like a lap blanket for yourself. It could be portable if you plan on what you're going to carry it in. Okay, so I know this one is not the most, ideally portable, but I had to share it, you guys, because I would love to work on one of these on our upcoming road trip. And if I can't think of something else, I may just do that because I would really like to get a good start on one of these for our bed. So this is the Summer Sidewalks. Now I've popped some pictures up so you're going to be able to see it here, but I'm just going to show you this. This is the one I knit for my son back in 2018 before he was born. It's little. It's so little. He used to be so little. He's not little anymore. Well, he's still little, but Okay, sorry, I'm becoming a mess. But look how nice this is. Let me get you a little closer so you can kind of see the fun stitch pattern. You guys, how sweet is this blanket? I mean, look at that. It's such a sweet little blanket, and I knit this using just a cotton yarn that I picked up in like the baby yarn section at Michael's or Joann. I can't even really remember. And I almost want to say it's a cotton acrylic blend. I don't think it's 100%. I think it was like an 80-20, right? Like an 80 cotton, 20 acrylic. But I love this. And just having it now out, all of the 5410 Studio blankets, in my opinion, do this. They're satisfying to look at. The texture is satisfying to kind of feel. It gives it substance. So I think this would be a fantastic idea for a road trip knit, even if it's just to kind of get your feet under you and get started with the project, knowing that you'll finish it obviously when you return from your trip. So that is the Summer Sidewalks blanket by 5410 Studio. I'm obsessed just having this out right now. I had to go dig it out of my son's closet, but having it out right now just makes me want a full-size one for our bed in like a really lovely like cotton bamboo blend even. Yeah, I just, look at it, so cute. I love it. Yeah, so that is the Summer Sidewalks by 5410 Studio. A fantastic road trip knit, especially if you are living in the Southern Hemisphere and things are cold. What better thing to take with you on a road trip than something that maybe can keep you warm as you go? So maybe you cast on before you go and get yourself some blankets started so you have something to keep your lap a little bit warmer if you're traveling through colder climates. I don't know, whatever. Any excuse to knit that blanket, I just stinking love it. Okay, this next pattern is a fun one because it's something that can get knit up pretty quickly. It uses bulky weight yarn with larger needles. It has a really fun stitch pattern, and like I said, if you're taking a rather short road trip, this could be something that can be on and off your needles in one way or both ways of your road trip, and then you have a finished project, and that's a beautiful thing. This is called the Bulky Dotty Cowl by Jessica Lau. I've talked about Jessica Lau patterns, I feel like, a lot lately here on the channel because I think her patterns are lovely. This is a $5 download, but it uses some really affordable yarn. So she's using a Lion Brand Hue and Me colorway in the super bulky weight. scratch that. That is bulky weight, not super bulky. Or the Lion Brand wool spun without polyester, which is a bulky weight yarn. It's 80% acrylic and 20% wool, or any bulky yarn that you have. And this only requires anywhere from 127 to 137 yards. So if you have a couple of odd skeins of bulky weight yarn that happen to match in your stash, you could work this up and it would be really quick and super satisfying. Not only that, I think it's a great looking cowl. It's just the right size. It's not too tall. It's not going to give you a ton of extra bulk around your neck. You can really have fun with color here, and I'm obsessed with that texture. That is fantastic. Like, look how classic and elegant this looks. And I think that knitting something like this on a summertime road trip and then, you know, storing it away when you get home to have to pull out when the weather gets colder in the autumn or in the winter, I think that's great. Or you could even knit a few of them on your road trip and save them for Christmas gifts or holiday gifts. So I don't know, I love this. So this is the bulky Dotty cowl. It looks like you also have a free version of this pattern. So if you purchase the pattern on Ravelry as a download, it's $5. But if you want to access the pattern for free, it looks like you can find it on a blog post. And the reason that that's free is because usually those blog posts will feature advertisements. And so that kind of, I guess, is what allows the person to provide it for free. It says here, knit these beautifully textured cowls using only one skein of bulky yarn and the gorgeous dot stitch. These cowls work up quickly and would make beautiful gifts for yourselves and loved ones. It has two different sizes, and there's, it looks like version 1 is looser around the neck, while version 2 is a little bit closer to the neck. I love that. Such a great, simple pattern, perfect for a road trip. Okay, I'm pretty crazy about this next one. I love the idea of knitting hats on road trips. It really requires very minimal finishing. It doesn't require a lot of extra tools. This particular pattern doesn't require a lot of extra tools. If you take along on a road trip, like a cable pattern, something like that, you have to accommodate for having like the cable needles and all of this. This hat kind of gives you the visual interest that a cable hat would, and it has a lot of really cool design to it, but you don't need any kind of extra tools to create the look. And that is the Twisted Vines hat by Melissa Labar. I think this hat is stunning. I love this color, but I absolutely love this stitch pattern. It's just knits and purls, lace knitting essentially here. There are no cables, but you get a lot of twisting sections of the hat that kind of give it that chunky textured cable look. And it's fantastic. The shape is great. I love that it has a nice slouch in the back, but it's also still relatively structured without being too droopy. Just that overall texture is really something special. It's not double brimmed, so you don't have to knit a really extra long brim. It probably can be on and off the needles relatively quickly. I think this is great. I love that. It says an extra long rib and lace hat as always. This pattern comes with both charted and written instructions. This is a $6 pattern. There's not a lot of information beyond what I just read to you here on the project page, but you can look at other folks' project pages as well to get an idea of some of their thoughts on this particular hat. I love this one here with some mohair in there in a really lovely tomato red color. Oh my goodness. I might need to like add this to my, well, not to my queue, but I really need to keep my eyes on this because I'm loving this. And I think it would make such a fantastic road trip knit. So yes, this is the Twisted Vines hat by Melissa Labar. Okay, this next one is a twofer for you, and I can't help it. I found this just recently and I'm obsessed with it. This is the Gruggle set by Kate Davies Designs. This just popped up under my radar, even though the pattern was released in 2021. This is a cowl and hat set, like I said, by Kate Davies, and you guys, I think it is adorable. It's kind of a great one for a road trip because the set is using the same yarn. So if you have the yarn that you need for both of these pieces, that gives you two solid pieces to work on if you're on a longer road trip or just a longer trip in general. But you don't have to take two different kinds of yarn. You just take that one quantity of yarn that you need for this project and you're good. And you've got two projects to work on. But I just need you to check this out because it is adorable. Look at how cute both the cowl and the hat are. Look at that awesome, very geometric stitch pattern going on here. I'm crazy about this. I think that Kate Davies is just the most adorable thing ever. And the suspenders and pants that she has on, this whole look right now, you guys, everything about it, I love it. I'm crazy about it. So this is called Gruggle. Now, I think the pattern gives you, this particular pattern gives you the cowl, but then there is also the hat. So there's, oh, okay, hold on. I thought this was a set. This is not a set. Let me make a correction here. The Gruggle is the cowl. And the reason I thought it was a set because of the photos, I was, confused. Okay, the cowl is called the Gruggle. The hat is called the, Iswas? I really don't know how to pronounce that. A cozy slouchy hat whose geometric lines recall crisscrossing rafters. Iswas, literally eaves walls, is a colloquial Scots term for a high shelf positioned between the beams of a roof. Gruggle is the cowl, a cozy cowl with a funnel shape and a geometric all-over pattern. In Old Scots, a gruggle is an angle or a corner. So she's inspired, these designs are inspired by Scottish architecture, old Scottish architecture, and I think that is so cool. Okay, you guys, you got a twofer here. So the Gruggle and the Iswas, but they're stinking adorable and I love them. I love Kate Davies. This requires, the cowl requires a DK weight yarn, anywhere from 240 to 320 yards, and it comes in one size. And then the Iswas requires also, it's the same yarn, DK weight, and this is 240 yards, and then it's a one size hat to fit a head with a 20 to 22 inch circumference, and it's fairly slouchy, what she says here. Love that. So that's the Gruggle and Iswas, and I love the inspiration for those designs. Love Kate Davies. Okay, this next one is another shawl design that I am in love with. I don't know, this might be the summer of shawls for me, or like the year of shawls for me. I'm finding myself really gravitating towards these really pretty shawls with eyelets and texture. Not the really heavy stuff, kind of the lighter weight, much more wearable shawls for my climate. I'm really feeling myself kind of growing much more fond of these designs. This is called The Orbit by Janina Kallio. And you guys, look at this photo. It's a simple photo, but look at the color of that shawl, the design of that shawl, those really pretty eyelets, that fun mesh border using the eyelets there. It is just beautiful. I really, really love this. The yarn is lovely. There it is in this really beautiful navy blue color. That's fantastic. It says this charming little scarf is perfect for everyday wear. Orbit has an elongated asymmetric triangle shape that's easy to wrap around the neck. It's a fun and quick knit with garter, stitch, and eyelet stripes. All you need is just one skein of DK weight yarn. And I think that's so cool. There's not a lot of shaping here other than the increases that you're going to be doing to create that elongated triangular shape. So that is the Orbit shawl by Janina Kallio, and I think that is just beautiful. Well, there you have it, folks. 10 road trip friendly patterns that I think you would love to have as fresh cast-ons for your next or upcoming road trip. I thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me as I ramble about these with you. I am finding kind of like a renewed sense of knitting mojo just from going through these particular patterns. And I think that's just because of the coziness and the ease of a lot of these. And those shawls, you guys, they're really calling my name. And then don't, you know, this blanket right here, I really want to knit another one of these. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the knitting mojo juices flowing. Yeah, so that's always a good thing. You guys, I enjoyed myself today. I hope you were able to take some inspiration away from this. Like I said, all of these will be linked down below in the description box. Also, please don't forget to check out the Wool Needles Hands website where you can drop me a tip in the tip line for upcoming midweek ramble videos, and also head over to the merch shop. Find something fun in the Wool Needles Hands merch shop over there to help support your favorite knitting channel here on YouTube. If you enjoyed yourself or took any value from today's video, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, definitely subscribe, and click the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I upload new content here on the channel, which is every Wednesday and every Sunday. And until next Sunday, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye. Gruggle. The Gruggle, Iswas, Eaves Walls, Gruggle, Iswas. I don't know. So that's the Gruggle and Iswas. I don't even know what I'm saying.